Bringing another speaker, guess what, to the stage here at the Destiny Exposure Summit. I'm bringing Jacqueline D. Carter to the stage. She is an award-winning educational leader. She is a coach. She's a recording artist. She's an actress. She's an author. She's a radio personality, and she's a motivational speaker. Also known as Jackyee, she is the founder and Divine Purpose Ministries leader whose aim is to educate, equip, elevate. Someone put elevate in the chat if you're with me. Elevate and empower individuals to live confidently in their purpose. She excitedly motivates and she leads with love as she intentionally leaves a little sparkle wherever she goes. But sharing her story or failed plans, misplaced identity, and her struggle to accept God's divine desires for her life, she hopes to inspire the listener to have the courage to dream big, to make plans, to trust the process, and accept the purpose and live their abundant life. Welcome, Jacqueline Carter. Jackie Carter, welcome to the Destiny Exposure Summit. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, Dr. Marcia, and thank you so much for having me on this great platform. I count it an honor and a privilege just to be here and talk with yourself and the women that you reach and encourage day in and day out.
You are so welcome, and I love your story. I love meeting you, and so I thought it was important for you to share a little bit more on this stage. And so, but before we get into all that, are you able just to? I know I gave a little introduction. Can you just kind of share a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, my name is Jacqueline D. Carter, and by trade, by my career, I'm an educator. I am an educator in the public school systems. I work with middle school during this season of my life, but I've worked all the way from pre-K up until high school. And I also, I also am a motivational speaker. I'm a life empowerment strategist, and I just really have a heart for helping support people with figuring out what their destiny is, what they're designed to do, who they're designed to show up and be that authentically in this world. So just speaking life over people, that's my thing. That's my jam right there.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I know we talked about your story. And I remember when we were, doing having some conversation that I remember you part of it is that you didn't think that you were enough. And when I say that, can you just kind of share and kind of put that in perspective for us?
Absolutely, absolutely. All my life, I feel like some of you have heard that term. All my life, I've had to fight. Well, that is definitely true for me. And the fight wasn't so much external, but it's that internal fight. From a very young age, I've always felt like I was not enough. me by myself, showing up authentically, I was never enough. I would always have to maybe buy friendships, or always have to prove that I'm one up above you. And maybe at that point, people would see, oh, well, she's better, and maybe I'll attach to her or something like that. But this warped feeling in my mind has always lingered over me, and it kind of guided and controlled how I showed up in life. And the funny thing about that is, I didn't get that from home. I had a loving, supportive environment rooted in the word of God, but that goes to show how the enemy can still creep in into those cracks of feeling like you're not enough. And I think it was some situations where outsiders spoke words to me where I was trying to show up and thought I was doing a good job showing up in this world, but then they spoke those words that said, you're not good enough, or that was horrible, you can't do this and that. And that seed from that one interaction took root in my heart. And when it did, it stunted everything I did. I could be doing something as simple as Dr. Marcia as coloring the lines on the paper. I know a lot of people have gone through that, where you get a line sheet of paper and you want to color each line a different color. And I get all the way to the bottom and almost be done with that. And I'd mess up and get outside the lines, and I'd tear it up and cry, just thinking it was the most horrible thing because it wasn't enough. Wasn't perfect. I went through school not having fun and enjoying my educational experience because I was always trying to be the best. I was seeking after being the best. And don't get me wrong, I did earn the grades. I did come out as the valedictorian, but I was so empty because I hadn't taken the time to develop the relationships, because I felt like if I showed up, I wasn't enough. And again, I move over into adulthood. Now I'm an adult. Now I'm trying to figure out what career I'm going to have and things in life, and I'm still showing up thinking I'm not enough.
Mm.
So that's where this story comes from, imposter identity. Because all my life I've shown up in places and felt like I'm an imposter. Yes, people see the energy that I put out and the happiness and whatever, but behind the scenes, if they could see behind the mask, they would see a broken, hurt little girl who hasn't dealt with those issues from when she was younger, and who is
Mm-hmm.
trying to mask it now as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're calling it imposter identity. I know others may call it imposter syndrome. It's the same kind of concept. And you earmarked it as, feeling not enough. And I want to know if you can say more about if someone's struggling and they don't know if they have it or not. Can you give us some more characteristics that may help identify?
Absolutely. One of them is perfection. Trying to strive to be perfect in everything you do. If you find yourself more often than not doing that, you might have it. If you find yourself showing up in spaces where you know that you're qualified, you've had the training, you've taken the classes, you've done it for other people, but then when it's your turn to step up and get the title or be in that position, and you keep telling yourself, I can't do it, I'm one class away from it, you might be suffering from imposter syndrome. If you show up and think you have to be the superhero and save everybody and have to have the answer for everybody, you might be suffering from imposter syndrome. Because, see, all of those things, you're trying to fill a void, a gap. And I don't even know if you've had that conversation with yourself to say this is what it is. Because we don't like having those conversations in the mirror. We want to wear the mask and pretend everything's fine, and just sweep it under the carpet as if it's not. But see, it keeps eating at you. It keeps eating at you. And then one day you will have that encounter, that experience where everything comes tumbling down.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened for me? And it was like, now what do I do? And then I felt like, then again, I come to you and talk to you from a spiritual background. And so I had to go back. God had to sit me down and say, what did I say? You've married yourself. You've married your heart, your emotions, your spirit, your ear gates, your eye gates to everything people have said. But what did I say about you? Then I had to realize that I lived a portion of my life being upset with him. upset with the
Mm-hmm.
good father. Why? Because I had a list of everything I thought my life was supposed to be, was supposed to look like. I was supposed to have this many children and be married by this age. I was supposed to have this great profession. And I worked toward all of those things. And I thought I did everything right by the way the systems the world sets up and tells us that we're supposed to follow and achieve success. Then he puts me in the place where I said I never wanted to be. That's a classroom. He
Mm-hmm.
had to place me there in order to remind me of who he said I was, my value, my worth, my purpose, while I'm trying to chase after things of the world, being this imposter. So he had to do some hard work on me here and see my story, imposter identity. That's where it led to. And I'm glad you said it's called imposter syndrome. Because, yeah, by the books, you call it that. But when I look at how it affected me and how it took over my life, it had become my identity.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that I was in an interview, Dr. Marcia, and somebody asked me the same question you opened up with. We had to do about 10 takes because I couldn't tell them who I was, what I did, because I felt like I couldn't get the words. And so all I did was burst out in tears. And that's when I knew, okay, I've got to deal with this. Because if
Right.
not, it's going to take me out
It's
of
going to
here.
take you out. And
Mm.
thank you, Jackie, for kind of going down all the ways that you can find out some of the clues that are leading you to this place. And what what stood out to me is that you had gotten to the end, and then the answer was God asking you, or you answering, who did I say you are? And
Mm.
so as you are speaking to those who may now acknowledge that they do have imposter identity, what is the pathway out?
The first thing, you have to be honest with where you are. And it's okay. It'll come with the shame, all those feelings will come, and that's okay. But be honest about where you are. And if you know where the root is, how you got there. But then you have to have this like mindset shift. You have to stop and be still. Stop trying to go in those same patterns and circling after what you were trying to do because it's not working. It's not working. Everything I did, it was not working. And so then you have to humble yourself and hear. You really have to ask the question, God, what have you designed me to be in the earth? What do you see me as? And pray and ask Him to give you those same lenses. Then you have to start doing some work. That's the hard work, the spiritual work, the mindset work. But then the practical side of things, you're going to have to go back, and affirmations are big. You have to get rooted and grounded in those positive things. And I would suggest going back to the word. Some of the scriptures that really helped me, Dr. Marcia,
Mm-hmm.
pull through is the one in Jeremiah that says, before I formed you in the mother's womb, I knew you. I called you, I qualified you, I ordained you. So start right there because that's even before you came out and had the first experience in this world. But then you go on, and there are scriptures that tell you you're God's masterpiece. He
Mm-hmm.
created you by exquisite design to accomplish great things in this earth, not for your glory, but for His glory, for His purpose. We were created to do good works and walk in them. So, see, I go to Ephesians and get those scriptures. Then there's a listing of, I saw it online one day, I am, and it just starts talking about scriptures that tell you you're called of God, you're
Mm-hmm.
chosen, you're the apple of His eye. And so, see, I get all of those things. And where the scripture may read it in general, I put my name there and I start speaking it. So when those thoughts of I'm not enough and that imposter syndrome tries to creep up, because, oh, yeah, it still tries to come. And I still have to fight with it daily. It's a daily thing. But see, once my mindset shifted and I
Mm-hmm.
started getting into a line with what God says and who He says I am in this world, then now I speak it. And I come out of my spirit and rebuke the enemy and say, no, you may tell me this. The world may even say I'm not this. But let me tell you what my Father says. And I say it till I believe
Yes. Oh,
it.
that's good. That's good. That's a key point. And you talked about affirmations, but just because you say it once or twice, it doesn't mean that you believe it. I was listening to a worship song, and the person who was the worship leader, I mean, the recording was like, I don't know, like 45 minutes. And the worship leader, she comes on the mic and she says, I know we're singing it over and over again. We're not singing it just because, but we are singing out the doubt.
I love
All
that.
right. And so when you are saying the affirmation, some people may be able to say it once or twice or 5 times, but you may have to say it 25 times. You may have to say it 100 times before the doubt is now out.
Yes. Yes. And you will know. See, that's the thing. You will know. Because at first, and if that's where you are with just let me say it as a ritual because somebody told me, start there. I'm going to celebrate that you even showed up to want to say it, to want to find change in your life. But then something will take place in you that it's not just something to say as a repetition or because somebody told me. You'll start feeling it. And then you'll start feeling the power behind it. Then you start walking in it. Then you start living
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
becomes who you are and how you show up in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. And you said you'll become who you are. And so I want you to tell me, I need to know, I know we talked about your story, okay? And we talked about the imposter identity. But now we're going to talk about you walking it out. I want to know, how are you walking this thing out in your life? I know you have some programs and some other things that you're doing. Can you just share with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, like I said, I'm in the school district and I work with youngsters day in and day out. And sometimes I will see and I will identify when I see on their face and their countenance, they don't have to say a word. But so I know that because I've recognized that face and that spirit. And so I said, Lord, these babies need a safe place that they can go to. And so what I created is a group called Alpha Glam Girls. Okay. And God gave me that one day as I was walking. And I was like, well, what does this mean? And He's like, it's going to be a safe space where these young women can come. They can talk about issues that they face. And now anybody is welcome to talk with me and be in my space. But this group is particularly for young African American females who have to navigate this life already being told that they are not enough and at the bottom of the totem pole and coming, all these negative things that they face. And so this group, it number one, encourages them and reaffirms who you are in this earth. You are beautiful, you are brilliant, you are glamorous. And then we set goals for ourselves. What do we desire? What are our passions? What are the things that interest us, that excite us? And we look at those things. Now, what can we do with those things? And start mapping out some plan A's, B's, and C's. Because I don't want them to be like me, feeling like if plan A does not work, that you are an absolute failure. Your life means nothing. You ready to take yourself out. Oh, no. We want to teach them how to navigate through these situations and show up in leadership roles. Stop playing small when you're not created to be small. I know systems set you up to say you're small, but that's not who you are, and have the confidence to show up in your authentic self. So we're going through those exercises, putting them out in places where they have those opportunities to lead and just be excited about who they are and know who they are so that when they do face those oppositions, bullying, or people telling them that they're not, that they have the power, strength, and courage to show up and say, no, this is who I am. And I'm going to show up and be that unapologetically.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
The alpha glam girls.
Mhm.
So this is how you are walking it out. This and I also know that you wrote a book. Okay, for those that are in that space of the imposter identity, can you share a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I was blessed to be a part of an anthology where we have 10, 12 women who shared their stories, and it's called When Destiny Needs an Intervention. And I'm in volume 2. There are 3 volumes. My story is in volume 2, and I don't know if your viewers can see some of the cover of the book there,
Yes.
right there. But when destiny needs an intervention, and I didn't know, I just, the Holy Spirit, the leading of the Holy Spirit, I had heard volume 1 stories, and I mean, I was moved by all of their stories. Though I had not gone through the same experiences, I found value and nuggets in everybody's story. And so at the end, when we were giving them feedback on their stories and just encouraging them, I was like, man, this makes me feel like I want to share my story. Now, I didn't have a clue of what kind of story I was going to share. I'm just putting it out in the atmosphere. Careful what you put in the atmosphere, because it's going to
Absolutely.
come back to you. And this time I'm glad it did. Because
Absolutely.
Dr. Shayna says, Dr. Shayna Lewis, and she's the visionary author of this. She
Mhm.
says, I'm calling for volume 2 and I need authors. Then I want to try the imposter syndrome and shrink back. And the guy was like, oh, no, you don't. No, ma'am. I heard what you said and you heard what you said. And so here I am. I joined this cohort. And then it's like, okay, God, what am I going to talk about? And then he's like, talk about how every day you mad at me because of where I put you. And I was like, oh no, God, that is not a life-changing story. Nobody wants to hear that. He's like, but that's what you're gonna talk about, so you better
Mhm.
figure it out.
Mhm. Well.
So yeah, that part. And so I through a lot of almost therapy, the coach Crystal Cunningham, thank God for her and her patience, because I was the last one to speak about what my story was going to be about. I opened my mouth, and again, nothing but tears came. I mean, they had to pray me through because I didn't want to talk about this because I was ashamed. I just felt like it had no meaning. But eventually, once we got to writing and things and writing it out, God just really took me on another level, saying, see, you fought me, and all the while I blessed you. I've
Mhm.
allowed you to do some
Mhm.
great things, even in the classroom, even when you didn't want to do it. And you'll find out some of those great things in the book. I'll let you read that part. And you're fighting me, you're still mad at me, but can't you see how I'm blessing you through this?
Mhm.
Then I'm opening up, because you have a steady income, a good job. I'm opening up opportunities for you to do the things that your heart desires, that you thought you had put on the back burner because somebody told you you weren't good enough. And I said, whoa, whoa, God, okay. So he even took me on a journey and showed
Yes.
me how he was using this to bless me. And that if I'm okay with taking off the mask and stop showing up as the imposter, my authentic self is great enough
Mhm.
because he created me like that. And I'll tell you this, I know our interview is coming to an end, but one of the most beautiful things out of this story and this journey that he taught me, he told me, and God, we have a funny relationship, he'll tell me stuff and I'm like, God, I don't even know what that means, but I know he's trying to build my faith. He told me at the end when I wrote this, he said, now you will understand the term kintsugi. Go look it up. I said, God, I don't know what that means. I don't even know how to spell that. So I go look it up, and it talks about the beauty of repairing broken things. And I said, okay,
Mm.
where are you going with this? Because again, I'm not familiar with this word or concept. And so it's a Japanese art form of repairing broken vessels. And a lot of times you're talking about a vase, a plate, or something. And so the story behind it, an emperor or ruler had invited someone of great stature to his home, and he had this gift for him. And so the gentleman was more interested in the view and other things versus the gift. Okay, and so the man is wondering why, but then the gift falls and it breaks. And so this emperor king, he says to his people, go put it back together for me. And he didn't like the way they did it the first time. And when they come back and put it together, they had used gold, platinum, or silver to create a lacquer and put these pieces together. The man comes back to his home. Now he can't take his eyes off of that piece. And he says, now this is valuable. And he sees the beauty in him. God says, you are just like that. Remember
Yeah.
your CD that you wrote called Broken but Perfected for My Purpose? And I didn't understand the long title. I fought with producers. I said, no, but that's what God said to name the title. And he said, think about your life. You feel like you're these broken pieces. But if you put yourself in my hands, I am the gold, the platinum, the silver that is going to put all of these experiences together for you. Then I'm going to display you to the world. You're not going to have to fight to be seen because I'm going to do it. I'm going to display you to this world. And they will have no other option but to see me and the beauty that I've designed you to be and shown forth through you. And I say, God, you are so amazing. You are so amazing. So that's what I encourage your viewers and your listeners. If you'll be brave enough to take off the mask, I know there are scars. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
scars will be the conversation. The scars are the testimony that
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to tell somebody,
Mm-hmm.
look at what I've endured. But let me tell you how my God has filled those spots, filled those voids with his love, with his mercy. And now they appear to you as gold, silver, or platinum. And now what was broken has become beautiful. But
Yeah.
you got to put it in his hands.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Thank you for sharing. And I'm going to say for ministering that message in this space right now. Because there's somebody who has felt that they were not enough. But what you're saying is if you go ahead and just do what God has called you to do and allow Him to put the pieces together, now you are that masterpiece. And now you can now go and help somebody else. And that's the beauty of the summit is to share the story because others are not quite where you are, right? They need you are some of that the workmanship that needs to you're right now you are filling in some of those glass pieces in that person's vessel so that they can now step into the beauty of what God has for them. I thank you. I want you to share how someone can get a copy of the book.
Well, you know what? Reach out to me through Facebook, my Facebook, and I have the link and things there because I don't want you to get because the volume 3 book is now up on the new link, but volume 2, reach out to me and I'm at Jacqueline Carter and I'll have MED behind it for my master's degree, but Jacqueline Carter. And then just DM me and I can get you information on how to get your copy of volume 2. I want to sign it. I want to, before I send them out, I pray, okay, God, what message do you need this person to hear? And I write it, and you will understand. I don't always understand what it means, but when you get it in your hands, you will know because it came from him. And all of the stories in here, let me tell you, are fabulous. These women have put their heart and soul in here, and they won't do it to encourage you and let you know that even if you feel like life is crazy and going haywire, you have a destiny. There is a destined moment for you. God is going to send that person, place, thing, or experience so you can have your intervention. And then when you do, your job, your responsibility is to go and help your sister, your brother, someone along their journey so that we
Yeah.
all can make it together.
Yeah, that is good. Jackie Carter, thank you so much for being on the summit. This has been powerful. This has been needed. And I just look forward to seeing and hearing all that you have coming up next.
Yeah, well, thank you. It has blessed me just as much as it blessed you. I feel like my cup is full again, and I can go out and I can tell someone else and share this story with someone else to encourage them. So, listeners, I hope you enjoyed our segment and enjoyed the rest of the summit because there are great things coming your way. Just don't give up.
Don't
What
give
you
up.
thought was damaged goods is really desired treasure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. And there you have it. That was Jackie Carter. So much power, so much presence. And what she did is she breathed life into this imposter identity. There is more on the other side of your struggle. So if you need to get some additional information, reach out to Jackie and get a copy of the book When Destiny Needs an Intervention and read her chapter as well as the other chapters, and let's get going. Okay, there are more people that we can help. And so I am Dr. Marcia. I am your host and the visionary of the Destiny Exposure Summit, where speakers tell their story, they touch their tribe, and they expand their territory. Stay tuned for more.